Hey everybody, thank you for joining us on today's show. Today we've got Jamil Damji, who I personally consider to be the king of wholesaling.
Funny.
I know you don't consider that yourself to be king, and I would actually say godfather, but I was kind of afraid that he'd get up and kick my butt. So we're going to go with king for now.
You're kind. Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
And if this is your first time tuning in, I'm Steve Trang, broker, owner of Stunning Homes Realty, and co-founder of the OfferFast app, the one app you need for wholesaling. And I
Great app, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
And I help people become real estate entrepreneurs. That's my passion. And if you're excited for today's show, please give me some wow faces. And before we get started, I started this show because I wanted to give back to our community. We struggled before, and we've had lots of struggle.
Right.
And the goal here for this show is to shortcut that struggle for as many young leaders as possible. So here's all I ask. If you get value out of the show, please tell a friend. Either share this show, tag a friend, or tell them your best takeaway from the show outside the show. And don't forget, this is a live show, so please post your questions so Jamil can answer them. So you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. What got you into wholesaling?
It was by accident. So I had gotten into a wholesale transaction without really knowing it. I was in Canada at the time. This is probably 2000, 2001. I identified a need for a specific type of property that builders were buying. Mm-hmm. And I had decided I was going to try and fulfill that need by getting a property under contract and selling it to them. And at the time I didn't know what wholesaling was. I didn't understand. In Canada they call it a skip transfer. So that's where That's the name. That's what they call wholesaling. Yeah, it's where you're using potentially buyers' funds or someone else's funds to close your transaction. It's all done through attorneys over there, so it's a little bit more of an arduous process. But I did that deal. I did a deal out there. I did pretty well on it. It kind of whet my appetite for the real estate industry in general.
Yeah.
But then I didn't do any more traditional wholesaling until 2010. 2010. Oh. Yeah, 2010.
Okay.
I actually, again, accidentally stumbled into wholesaling. I had put a couple of short sales under contract. At the time, the market had just crashed. Properties were super cheap. But I wanted to sell them. I had no intentions of keeping those specific properties. And so I written a Craigslist ad.
Yeah.
And an individual who is a wholesaler here in town, a really, really nice guy, Tim Wynn. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Yeah, TFA,
True Freedom Achievers. Nice guys, him and
Yep.
Mike, both great people. Tim contacted me from my Craigslist ad, called me, ended up buying those two properties, and then invited me to come hang out with him for a week.
Oh, that's cool.
And so, I was in Los Angeles at the time, not doing much as most people in LA tend to do. And I thought, heck, I have nothing to lose. I might as well go out there and be this guy's guest. And it seemed like something to do. So I actually took him up on the offer. I came up to Phoenix for a week, got a hotel, and he carted me around and just shared, and he really opened my eyes to what was going on here in that business. That's
awesome. So you were in LA and you were wholesaling in Phoenix. So you
Correct.
were virtual wholesaling before that term became popular.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, now that I look at it, there's a lot of terms that people have given things that I think organically happen in the business.
Right.
It's just, it becomes a thing when somebody realizes that, oh, this is how you do that. We need to call it something.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I guess virtual wholesaling.
What can you, so why wholesaling? Why not flipping or traditional real estate?
Good question. Well, traditional real estate, I mean, I love it. I think, we do sell some retail deals after we fix them up. But for the most part, traditional real estate, it's hard. It's harder, I think, than wholesaling. With traditional real estate, you have, look at you or even one of your agents, for example, Templeton Walker, fantastic guy, right? Like, I don't think there's an agent that I've seen who's branded himself and done more in such a short amount of time to become a powerhouse agent.
He's a whirlwind.
Yeah, then he has. But you look at a guy like that who has all that energy and just general understanding of how to brand yourself.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting. It's exhausting. You know, I personally know him as well, and so I know how many hours he puts into his day. So I think being a traditional agent, it's tough, man. Like, you really, really are climbing uphill all day. You know, and then also on the flip side of that, there's two sides of traditional real estate. There's listing and there's being a buyer's agent, right?
Right.
Being a listing agent's tough, but if you can get the hang of it, you can do really well. But when you're a buyer's agent and strictly a buyer's agent, that is like terrible, right? You're
not making this a sexy business right now.
No, I mean, well, it's hard. You're working very, very hard for your money, and people don't tend to appreciate or even assign the value that you're owed. They begrudge your commission more than just expect that it's, you know, you have kids and families to feed, right?
Right.
So traditional real estate kind of turned me off because of that. Fixing and flipping, I mean, we've done it, but it's brain damage. You know, it's hard. And I have seen where we have put our heart and soul into a project and we think it came out fantastic, and you know, we're just getting beat up by buyers or beat up by appraisers or people breaking in and destroying the house right before it's done.
Yeah,
you know, there's a lot of...
I think one of my favorite stories you're talking about was in Maryvale. I mean, how many times have you had to secure and...
Well, the homeless people were coming in through the dog door. Right? We didn't have it. We kept securing the windows and the doors, but not realizing that they were so small that they could fit through that little hole, and they just kept coming in and pooing on the ground. And you know, that's like, you can only do that so many times before it gets frustrating. And so, yeah, I'm not a big fan of fixing and flipping per se, but I mean, there's a lot of people getting rich off it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, some of our friends even really
absolutely.
are doing it. So tell me, what were some of the struggles you faced when you first started?
So I think the hardest thing for me was bridging the gap of when you're really buying a house versus when you're not really buying a house. And I think any wholesaler that's getting started right now, they probably face this conundrum just ethically, right?
I had this conversation during lunch today.
Yeah. It's a true thing, right?
Oh, it's a real thing.
Because you want to get a deal and you're trying your hardest to put something under contract, but you have no idea how you're going to complete. Right? So I think earlier my biggest struggles were just trying to operate with integrity and at the same time understand that this is it's a game of trial and error, right? I'm not personally angry at somebody if I have to cancel on their deal, and you know, this is back at that time. And I think at that time too, I wasn't as concerned with completing transactions as I was just trying. Today, I mean, you know, your name is everything, right? So so if I contract in a deal, I'm buying that deal. So I know that now, and at the time, I think it was just tough because you're swimming. You're in deep water. There's a lot of sharks out there.
A lot of sharks that smell blood too.
They smell blood. They see that you're maybe inexperienced, or there's some advantage that can be gained, which again I have no problem with. I think that if you are a guppy and you land on a whale, and they help you get to a destination, but they take advantage of you throughout that process, that's fine.
Right.
That's absolutely fine.
It's tuition.
I think it's tuition. Absolutely. So, but there was a lot of great dudes, man. Like I struggled, but I had some great people early on help me out, show me the way, show me what they were doing. Like I said, I had mentioned Tim and Mike, great people. John May was a early buyer of mine, fantastic guy, another big wig in town. Chris Hyman, also worked with him for a long time, great person, another juggernaut in the field. So, you know, there were these really fantastic, I'd call them mentors, people that sort of paved the way and were doing the business before I got in it. And they helped a lot. And they were very generous with their knowledge and their prowess. So that was helpful.
Well, I know, you know, one of the conversations we had before was that you got into the business and you got beat up a little bit, had to take some time away from the business and came back. Can you talk about that?
Sure. So, as I had mentioned, I was in Canada at the time. I grew up there. And before the crash, my sister and I were doing condo conversions. So we were buying apartment buildings, strata titling the apartments, getting them in individual titles, and then renovating them and selling them off floor by floor.
In Canada?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't even know that happened in Canada.
They have condos in Canada. Yeah.
Well, I didn't know they did condo conversions because we were huge in condo conversions here in 2007, 2006.
Yeah, I actually ended up buying some of them, some of those projects afterwards. But so I had, when you're in that business, again, it's more of it's fixing and flipping at a large scale, right?
Yeah.
We, I had the misfortune of having my parents co-sign some construction loans, and when the market tanked, not only did I lose every dime of mine, but I lost every dime of my parents.
Right.
So they lost their home, their cars, my home, my car, we were all done, done. So we went from living in nice homes, doing really well, to all of us packed in 1,000 square foot, 2-bedroom condo. My dad, me, my mom, my sister, my niece, our 150-pound dog, and our cat. And we're all packed like sardines into this apartment, and that was hard. It was hell, and I had to make it back. I had to figure out how to make it right with my parents.
So how did you do that? Right. So you had this massive struggle, right? And then you took some time off, but then you came back with a vengeance. So let's talk about that. How did you do that?
I'm a firm believer in like synchronicity. Everything kind of happens for you when you're ready for it. The first time I was successful, I don't believe I was emotionally ready to have access to money, nice things. I don't think I deserved it. Yeah. And for that reason, it was gone. It was taken away, right? I think the second time around, for me at least, I have, and again, the struggles have always been there, but in that time, from losing everything to starting to gain some traction in life again, I had gained so many amazing bonds with family. In that time, I met my current wife. Say current, like it won't last. My only wife. But I mean, like in that time, I think I formed the closest bonds with everybody because my parents didn't hate me for losing everything, and that ate me up. It would have been easier if they just said you're a failure and you suck and I don't ever want to see you again. But they did the opposite. They encouraged me. They told me it was okay. They didn't blame me, right? Although I did.
All right. I mean,
so
personal accountability.
For sure. So I think the seeing all that, having been knocked off and laying on the ground there for a while, there's a lot to learn on the ground floor. And I think, in all honesty, it's probably the most fun floor to be on because you've got nowhere to go but up. And there's 1,000 cliches that can describe the party on the ground floor, but it's a party, right? And you can really, really gain lifelong friends, education, vision. It all happens there.
Well, it's the pursuit. Sure. Right, that's exciting. And actually, I was listening to an interview with Gary Vee a couple of days ago, and he was saying like he's so excited because in China he's unheard of. It's like there's this whole other market I get to go conquer. Right. That's a very fascinating mindset. So it's not just the results. It's like this whole chase. Right. Is what it's all about. Okay, so what lesson will you teach today's young real estate entrepreneurs?
Man, what lesson would I teach them? I think, the hardest hurdle to get over is your own impatience, right? Because you want results, and if you're toiling at something and you can't create,
Mm-hmm.
it's frustrating,
Right.
right? You look at young kids with a Rubik's Cube, they're really getting frustrated at trying to put this puzzle together, right? Make all the sides match.
Mm-hmm.
And you see all kinds of emotions. They'll throw it, they'll peel the stickers off and put them on so that they'll cheat.
I'm laughing from experience.
Right? And then you just got those ones that'll just not stop until they're done, right? So I think the best advice that I could tell anyone that's like beginning the journey, just stay focused. Stay focused and really be okay with being broke for a long time. Because there's a funny thing about money. When you start making it, you stop caring so much. It doesn't have that appeal anymore, right?
Yeah, money is just the motivating factor when you first get started.
Right.
But once you have it, you got to have a bigger passion.
You get over it. Then you're about life experiences, you know? So I think patience, just be patient and trust in yourself. If you've got any kind of willpower or tenacity, you'll do it. Right. You'll get to where you want to go. I've seen some pretty dull individuals make a lot of money just because they're very patient and they're tenacious, right?
You don't have to be smart. You don't have to be sexy. I tell people, you got to have two things: a willingness to learn and grit.
100%.
You have those two things, everything else will take care of itself.
For sure.
So Max and Menace has a question. What's up, Max?
What up, buddy?
He has a question: what is the one challenge you're facing right now in today's market?
In today's market?
Mm-hmm.
I think, it's, and I don't want to sound like overly optimistic, but things are better for us today than they were 6 months ago or even a year ago, right? So I think that in today's market, there's a lot of competition. It's super tight, but I feel if you're innovative and if you can find ways to be innovative, then you can really separate yourself from everybody that's banging their head against the wall, complaining that it's hard. I think, Max, right now, I think the one thing that's bothering me the most is just all of the people complaining. So I think I'm just gonna let them complain about how tough it is, and meanwhile, while they're complaining, I'll just pick up the pieces.
Right. Well, you're solving problems.
Yeah.
And that's what we get paid to do.
For sure.
Right. That's how we're able to generate the income that we're able to generate.
Correct.
So I wanted to share, can we talk about how we met?
Yeah.
So I met you. You were a Zillow lead, and I am known amongst the other real estate agents for hating Zillow, right? Can't stand Zillow.
Okay.
And I'm here. I believe they're here to eat our lunch, but you were a Zillow lead.
Yeah.
And it was funny to me because you called me up on my listing, and it was one of the deals that I had personally flipped.
Right.
And it was a lady and her husband and their kids, and we need this money right now. We're going to this apartment, and we need this amount in order for us to be able to make the move. And I'm looking at her like, this number doesn't make any financial sense.
Right.
But she's like crying, right? And I know that I want to help her. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll pay this, whatever. We'll close. Huge mistake, right? Because I didn't even realize there was no AC unit
right.
when I bought the property. So we go back and we close, throw on MLS, and everyone's like, hey, Steve, this is a great property, but we can't buy a house with no AC. I was like, there's no AC.
Right.
And you come along and you call me on Zillow and you take it down.
Right.
And not only did you take it down, but you were able to move it for more than I was able to list on MLS.
Sure.
And that taught me a huge, powerful lesson. And that lesson was the power of a buyer list.
Right.
So can you talk to me about the power of a buyer list?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd love to.
Yeah.
It's the foundation of KeyGlee, right?
Yeah.
Our entire company is built off dispositions.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I can say is that if you've got access to distribution, and this isn't in any industry, right? Like, why are the music labels so powerful?
Right.
Because they can distribute. Mm-hmm. Why is Netflix so powerful? They distribute. Mm-hmm. Any of these big companies, whenever they're powerful and huge, the reason they're powerful and huge and can do well is because they've got distribution figured out.
Yeah.
So if you can't distribute what you have, then you have nothing. Because in any deal, there's two sides. There's acquisitions and dispositions. So,
Yeah.
so for us, again, I was really big on acquisitions and trying, beating down the doors, trying to get to the contract before everybody else. But I started to realize, man, when you're showing up at the same house 20 deep, that's hard, right? That's what gets prices driven up to where they're going. That's what gets people frustrated. That's what makes people lose money on advertising because there's just too much. There's a lot of competition.
Yeah.
The power of a buyer's list, Steve, is that I have wholesalers and people from all over the valley who are doing the marketing themselves, who are spending their money to bring the deal in, who are knocking on the doors themselves, their own toil, their own work, bring it to us because they know that we can distribute. Right? So the power of it, I get to cut half of my expenses. I don't have to go and acquire. I don't have to spend the money to do that.
Right.
So I think in all honesty, if everybody focused strictly on disposition, they'd probably do better. Yeah. But then I'd be out of business.
Right.
So keep doing what you're doing, everyone. You guys are doing great.
I had lunch today with a young guy. He's been in the business for 6 months. He's doing a little bit of retail, doing a little bit of wholesale. And he was saying, that quandary or the conundrum that you and I talked about earlier, how do you go in there and say I'm the buyer when you're not the buyer? Right. And I said to him, well, problem is easy. Go find the guy that will buy it.
Right. Be the buyer.
Be the buyer.
Yeah.
Or get the funds.
Right.
To be the buyer.
Right.
But what advice would you give to someone that wants to build a buyer's list?
Don't just call KeyGlee. Call us.
Use the KeyGlee app.
Yes. Use that. I mean, do it. Right. If you're not in Phoenix, do it. It's great. It'll work.
Yeah.
But building a buyer's list is tough, right? It takes a lot of manpower. You can't just. Here's the thing about the buyer's list conundrum that is a little funny to me. I get a new email from a wholesaler once a week, and I don't mind at all, right?
Yeah.
That I wasn't opted in, that I was never asked to be on this person's list, that somehow some title company pulled a list of cash buyers out of Monsoon, handed them my information, and the person went and put me on their buyer's list.
I've done this before.
I'm absolutely okay with it, me personally. So everybody out there, you have my approval to add me to your buyer's list. I've opted in vocally right now.
Right.
But when I look at that from, say, a buyer perspective, you don't know that person, right? So just adding someone to a list, it's lazy.
Yeah.
It's super lazy because what are you haven't asked, you haven't connected, you've created no rapport. I'll tell you this, people will do business with who they like.
Right.
Not just anybody, right? So there are buyers who will only buy houses from us, and there might be good deals here or there, but they just don't trust it. Right. They understand that the level of service, who we are, there's going to be integrity attached.
It's credibility.
The credibility, the ARV is going to be very close to what we think. It's an honest ARV, right? It's an honest opinion.
It's not 2 miles down the road from 2 years ago.
Right. Same subdivision, same year build kind of deal. Not a 2-story and a single story, as a comp. So these are the thing about building a buyer's list is it's not just getting an email. It's about making a friend, right? Gaining a client, and showing them that you're interested in their business, and not just selling them a house, and then 6 months later sending them an email with another house. That person has spent money with you. That person paid you a fee. Right? You could check in on them in their project, see how things are going. I think the reason people don't is when you sell a bag of shit to somebody, you're afraid that when you call them in 6 weeks, they're going to say, my house smells. Right?
No, that's true. Why would they follow up with someone if they sold them a bad deal?
Right.
That makes a lot of sense.
So, for us, it's not just buyers. It's you build. We have a bucket of friends.
Well, it goes back to relationship building.
Yeah.
And I think that's powerful, right? It's not just they're not one of 30,000 people.
Right.
It's people that you've talked to, you connected with.
Sure.
So there's actually, when they get an email from Jamil, it's an email from Jamil. It's not an email from this guy I've never heard of.
Right.
And, you know, and I want to talk about some of your guys because you've got some awesome players, partners.
So happy.
So
so blessed for them.
You know, Hunter, the millennial, what is it? Millennial.
He was a millennial investor, I think.
Millennial investor.
Yeah.
And I met him way before you and I connected.
Right.
I mean, he was harassing me on LinkedIn for the longest time, but we connected.
Right.
And then he followed up with me after we connected on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Followed with a Facebook friend request.
Right.
Right. So he's actually doing like the things that we talked about.
Yeah.
And building a relationship. And then the other guy, Josiah, who's a monster.
Yeah.
It was funny to me how we met, Josiah and I, because you and I were doing a deal.
Yeah.
In AJ.
Right.
Mobile home lot.
Oh yeah.
With 2 other properties on it.
Yeah.
Kind of suspect.
That was fun.
Yeah. So potentially 3 different properties with meth involved.
Yes.
In all 3 properties.
Yes.
I'm like, Jamil, I like this deal. The landlord wants to move this deal. I am not going inside this house.
Right.
I don't care how much we can make on this deal. I'm not walking in this house. He said, I got a guy. And Josiah shows up.
Yeah.
I was blown away. You know, that this kid, right? I mean, I don't know how old he is. Younger than us.
He's younger than us, yes.
Yeah. But I could not believe the family program. Courage.
Yeah. I'll tell you. So I think what Josiah truly has, I mean, God's got his hand on that guy.
Yeah. For
sure. You know, he is not only brilliant, spiritually advanced, but he's a disarming guy, right? If you have any level of ill will, negativity, if you call him angry, within 15 to 30 seconds of that call, he's got everybody in a good mood.
Yeah.
Right? It's a special kind of person to be able to do that.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, he approaches life and business and everything in such a positive way that I don't worry about him in situations, and I don't think he worries about himself in situations because he knows that everywhere he goes, it just sort of
it's gonna work out.
Yeah, like little flowers sprout up on the side of the road where he walks. Right.
I want to go back.
I'm a fan,
quick.
if you can't tell.
Oh no, he's a good dude. Good dude. So I want to go back real quick to Max's question about the challenge. You know, we don't really talk about this here, but first, you were talking about, you know, you guys go bang your head and get frustrated and complain, and you'll be the one finding solutions. I want to give a shout out to Andrew LeBaron because he's right now branding himself like crazy.
He's awesome.
He's a machine.
Powerhouse
with his branding.
Yep.
But one thing that we didn't talk about, and this is kind of a big, I see this question asked over and over again in the Wholesaling Houses Full-Time group, our real estate agent group. So what are your thoughts on Zillow Instant Offers?
What's that?
A non-issue, I see.
Yeah, I don't care. I truly don't. I've been asked, how do you feel about Open Door? How do you feel about OfferPad? They're great. They're great. They overpay.
Yeah.
Right. So that's fine. I mean, I think that there's, for what we do in truth, there's 2 sides to selling a house for cash. There's 2 types of properties. There's a house that's super nice, that has been renovated and barely lived in, and for a seller of a property like that, I think Open Door, OfferPad, Zillow Instant Offers, it's perfect.
Right.
Because they're just literally trading for commissions. You know what I mean? Like they're not going in there and getting their elbows dirty. They're not working on a house, right? They're not buying homes with additions. They're not buying the stuff that really, really needs the work. So I think that just don't focus. I don't give Zillow Instant Offers any attention at all. In fact, I'm going to forget that they exist as soon as this question's over.
Well, you did before I even started.
Yeah, because I don't think it's an issue.
And I just want to add to that, because you and I talked about this a little bit ago, was before we were talking about Zillow, we're talking about OfferPad and Open Door.
Yeah.
And for you, like, I don't care because there's so much opportunity out there.
Sure.
And not only that, but what they're looking to buy, that's not what I'm looking to buy.
Exactly.
So it's 2 completely different things. So, like, they're not even eating what I would be at the table for.
Right. But we could sit here and say, oh, they're eating my lunch, but they're, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't like ham sandwiches.
Right.
They eat ham sandwiches.
Yeah.
Right. So that's cool. I'm gonna sit over here and I'm gonna eat my hamburger, and they're gonna eat their ham sandwich.
And I think it's great when I get a call and they're saying, "Hey, I have solar. Can you buy this?" Yeah. I'm excited because I already know like
they're
half
not
the
gonna touch it.
competition's gone.
Right.
So what would you consider to be your superpower?
I can materialize a cup of coffee into my hand at any time I want.
Yeah?
No.
That'd be great, though.
I know, right? I wish. Superpower? I don't know. I don't know that there's any. I mean, I think as human beings, we all have like a gift.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, and I wasn't always able to do this. I was bullied a lot as a kid, right? So it gave me tools to have like a higher emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
So I can pick up, I can smell bullshit from a mile away.
Yeah.
I can pick up, dissension, happiness. Like I feel like I can sort of understand someone's mood from body language, their face, and it allows me to be able to be a more empathetic listener.
Right.
Right. And then if I can do that, I can connect.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can connect, then I can make a friend.
Right.
And then, you make a relationship. So I think I'm just good at being able to connect.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too is, I think about our relationship, and you mentored me too.
Thank you.
In the beginning.
That's funny because I think so highly of you for somebody I consider a mentor to say I mentored them. That's cool.
Well, I think, you got a lot to offer. So I, definitely appreciate that my when I was getting started in wholesaling.
Right.
But one of the things that I think is great about you is that you got integrity.
Thank you.
And you actually care. And I think that shows in this interview. But, one of the things that you're always concerned about as a new wholesaler is, I got this property tied up. Will someone buy it? And when you say I'm a buyer, that's it. I already know it's sold.
Yeah.
I don't even have to worry about this anymore.
Yeah.
Like that, I'm not saying you should spend your checks before you get it, but in my mind, like, it's
cool.
a done deal.
It's done.
So I think that's something that's really powerful and something that helps a lot. And the fact that you're always happy to give back and mentor. So
absolutely.
Do you know, like, approximately how many people you've mentored in our market or other markets?
It's tough to say. I mean, for a long time, I think to my detriment, when I was getting started, I had this idea that I didn't want to take meetings, right? I was like, I don't want to meet anybody. I don't want to meet you for coffee. If you have time for coffee, you're a loser, right?
Yeah, you got to hustle nonstop.
Yeah, I was totally wrong about that.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I think that for me at least, in terms of mentoring, I can't say I've mentored anyone, but I feel that through just having conversations, I've helped people become like a partner.
Yeah.
The mentor-mentee relationship structure to me, I think is a little off. I'm not good with power, positions of power, and
right.
having unequal power, right? You're automatically assuming a mentor and a mentee have, they're not sharing power. I think anybody who comes to the table wanting to do business, regardless of how many deals they've done, I'm not going to talk to them as though I'm a mentor or I have any stature over them. I'm communicating with my peer, right? My equal. And they'll notch off deals and do business, but they're human beings, right? So I think I've worked with, if you're going to call that mentoring, thousands. Yeah. But I don't think that's
that's not how you would frame that relationship.
Yeah, I'd say it's just partnerships and friends.
Okay, it's a great way of putting it.
Yeah.
What does your operation look like today?
I mean, it's a beast. It's the one time I will gloat. I have some really fantastic partners who have been able to help build a really, really smooth machine. We're, I think, 30 or more deep now.
People?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a buzzing operation. I mean, I'm kind of the old fart in the office. So, when I get in, they turn the music down, you know, because like I think I spazzed one day. I was in there. I have a problem with like loud music and like being able to concentrate. And so they had electronic dance music bumping.
It's what happens when you get older, man.
Yeah, it's tough, right? And I remember screaming, "We're not in a rave," you know, and they were all like shocked. They're like, "That guy never gets mad." But the operation's healthy. It's good. We've got really young blood, but I mean, everyone in there is super ambitious, very hungry, and like a sponge. Like they're all learning like sponges. So it's great. There's not a single person that whose face I see every day at that office that I could say, "Oh, I wish you weren't here." You know, like everyone is so cool. They're all great dudes, great girls, just fantastic positive attitude. I mean, you know, here's a total aside, right? One of our clients, I'm not going to get into any specifics because it's a medical thing, but we learned a client today was having a medical thing. My office prayed for them. You know, like they all prayed for this person to feel better, and not so that we could tell that person that we did, but because they care to do that. Yeah. Right. So, I mean, just imagine being surrounded by that all day.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. That's awesome. I mean, it's gonna be much more. It's an environment I would want to go to every day.
Sure.
So that's cool that you guys were able to build that up between all of you guys.
Absolutely.
Okay, so as far as, do you have any set designated acquisition guys, disposition guys? Do you have?
Yeah, there's a couple of us in acquisitions, not a lot. It's me and another dude. It's mainly dispo. So they're all out there driving houses, being with buyers, you know, opening doors, explaining deal points. So I'd say it's like a 95% to 5%
operation.
Yeah, it's 95% dispo.
Okay. And then, do you guys have any cold callers?
No cold callers.
Okay.
I used to have them, but it's a really tough industry to keep employed or retain. You know, it's.
Well, we say even in traditional real estate, like that's the hardest people to keep because you know for someone that's great on sales but wants to be kept in a room, it's an interesting dynamic. So not just in your industry, but in traditional real estate, trying to hire, keep and maintain. Right. It's the hardest role to keep.
It's tough.
Yeah. Okay.
A friend of mine, and I don't know if he's watching or not, Brent Daniels, he's another fantastic guy.
He's going to be on next week.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, he's so great.
Yeah.
Really great wholesaler, really great dude, super positive, and like, you know, he says talk to people. He's really, really the guy. Yeah. You want to talk to about callers, cold calling, and telemarketing, and how that has benefited him and influenced his life.
Yeah.
That's the guy, and I'm happy you're going to have him on your show next week because if anyone is listening, is interested in how to handle that situation, tune in next week.
Yeah, he's awesome. I mean, when I heard him speaking last, I was like, this guy's the next.
He's the guy, dude.
For sure.
He's awesome. He's awesome. Plus, he's like just the funnest guy to be around. You know.
Oh, he's a great dude. Okay, so you know we're talking about you do more dispositions and acquisitions. So, what is your best lead source?
Other wholesalers, right?
Other wholesalers
for sure. I mean, that's where we get all of our deals. So, and they're free.
Right. There's no marketing.
You know,
it's just building relationships.
Yeah.
Picking up the phone, calling people, talking to people.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what is your buy criteria?
What will I buy? Like in terms of what does the deal have to be for me to want to buy it? I mean. We're at 70% ARV, not over 350.
Okay, simple.
Yep.
At single family, mobile.
Condos. I've been playing in the mobile manufactured home world a little bit. Hunter hates them, so but I've gotten him to come around a little as well. I mean, we've done some manufactured home deals and they've panned out, but I think. Single family, condo, townhome. Condos are super hot right now. They're especially in the west side. I mean, we can't keep those around.
Really?
Yeah. They do really well. And they sell really well too when they're, because I've seen some of the townhomes that we've contracted and then sold to fix and flippers, and they get turned so quickly that I'll see them pop up on new listings, and it'll be like no time. I'll almost feel like, how did that happen so fast?
Yeah.
That they were able to turn it, and then 48 hours later the thing is under contract. I think it's just affordability wise right now, the townhome market is where it's at.
Right.
We're starting to price out families from single family homes, and so because of that, I think there's going to be a really, really strong surge in condo and townhome.
Well, I mean, I personally flipped a condo, I want to say like 8-9 months ago.
Yep.
And it was studio. It didn't even have a bedroom.
Wow.
And I was thinking, okay, well, I'll pay this.
Yeah.
And she bid me up against another buyer. I was like, okay, fine, I'll pay this. But worst case, I break even. It'll be an interesting experiment to see what a studio sells for.
Yeah.
And we got multiple offers, over asking price, cash,
Awesome.
quick close. And I was like, who wants to buy a studio?
Yeah. Somebody, man. I mean,
Yeah.
like I guess you want to live and eat everything in your bedroom.
Well, you're going to keep your costs down, right? You're talking about affordability.
Sure.
I mean, we ended up selling that thing for like $42,000. That's
Awesome. But dude, come on, $42,000. I
know, but it's a
how
studio.
great is
it
that?
was like 400 square
That
feet.
mortgage is like $210 a month.
The HOA is the only cost on that thing.
It's probably $210 a month too.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Okay, so let's see what else. Oh, I wanted to also talk about, you were saying manufactured. I mean, I've heard other people, I've never done this yet, but I've heard manufactured is great for lease options.
I mean, yeah, lease options are awesome everywhere, right?
Well, awesome everywhere, but there's just much more potential
Sure.
for manufactured homes. So I want to touch on that.
It's interesting why. I'd like to know. I don't know why, but why is it better that you could? Why would it be easier to sell a lease option in a manufactured home park than a single family house? Is it just pricing?
I think it's just price point.
Yeah.
Right. Like everyone has like $3,500 to put down. Not everybody has, but more people have $3,500 to put down.
Yeah.
Versus for a house, want $10,000 down.
Sure.
So I think that's the biggest thing.
And it's cool for an investor because they can get in. My first, actually, not my first two, but my one of my earliest acquisitions in the Phoenix market. Again, we were working with limited cash. I had bought 2 lease options, 2 8-plex apartment complexes, one over at 16th Street and Palm Lane, and another one in the Oakland Historic District. They were great. They were great deals. $10,000 down, and then like $3,000 a month in lease payment, which
For an Aplex?
for an Aplex, which was
pretty
super,
good.
Well, I mean, now at that time, I was being told I was crazy, right,
Okay.
to be doing that deal. My sister is an innovative girl. She found a way to get in touch with the VA, and there's some incredible veteran housing programs out there that not only are you doing a fantastic thing because you're providing housing for vets, but they pay premium, right? And it's coming from the government. The government's paying the rent, so you've got a guaranteed rent.
Checks clearing every month.
You've got a premium. You're helping a vet. And what we used to do is, every holiday we'd have like Christmas dinner, Thanksgiving, and just sort of turn it into like a family structure. Everybody in there were all vets, so they'd all know each other and they'd be friends, and it was super awesome.
That's cool.
But yeah, we ended up holding those 2 for I think 3 years, and I mean we crushed it on selling them, right? We did well on both of them. So I think lease option, this is a long story. A lease option is a great way for an investor to get into the market without having to like come out of pocket with a substantial amount of money.
Right. And I think the other thing too is, I don't brag about this, but I was a commissioner for Housing and Human Services for the city of Chandler for a little bit of time.
Awesome.
And if you're interested in trying to find, opportunities to increase your rents or work with, in these types of situations, it's really easy actually. You just call the city.
Yeah.
It's like, I have this property. I think it'd be good for this. Do you guys think this would work for you guys, the city?
Right.
And the city will find a way to make it work. So,
awesome.
I mean,
and the thing is usually they require that you have a certain level of finish. And when I say finish, I mean like amenity, right? Like,
Right.
We had to outfit our entrances with ramps.
Mm-hmm.
There needed to be handles in the bathrooms.
Yeah.
It needed to be accessible, right?
Mm-hmm.
The doorways needed to be wide enough in
Right.
case there was needing wheelchair access. So there's definite
Sure.
work, but it's all value added work, right? It's all
Right.
stuff that when you do makes your property worth more. So I think it feeds itself.
And I think the other thing too is people don't really think about Section 8, and Section 8
8's
is
great, dude.
awesome.
It's got such whatever stigma is attached to it is so wrong.
I don't know why. It must be outside of Arizona, because every Section 8 in Arizona has been.
It's been, not only are they fantastic, but there's they can lose their Section 8 status.
Right.
Right.
If we're not paying rent.
For not paying rent or
Yeah.
abusing the property. So like,
You're not the bad guy.
you're not the bad guy.
Yeah.
And I think that it's gotten a bad rap unjustifiably.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's a fantastic rental program. More people should do it.
Yeah, definitely. So Max is another great question.
What up, bud?
How do you structure your JV partnership deals?
Good question. I'll call you about that. No, every JV is different, right?
Right.
So so I can't really give you a structure. What I can say is we look at every deal individually, because every deal is going to have certain nuances. Like potentially there might be a tenant, or there could be a huge marketing cost, or some amount of money that needs to get paid outside of escrow to whatever. God knows. People.
That's never happened.
Yeah, but other wholesalers, they structure stuff in a weird way, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's not my business. I'm
Right.
But for whatever it's worth, like a JV should be 50-50 is the goal, to share. But we know that it's not always possible,
Yeah.
right? There's going to be circumstances, and so it just needs to be able to make sense.
I think the other thing that matters too is the buy price.
Sure.
Right. I mean, that
Sure.
makes a difference. Okay. So I got to witness you during lunch this past week, and I've always wondered, how the heck does Jamil give me an answer in 5 minutes? Every time I'll send you an address and I get a response back, it's like, what tool is he using? What automation system is he using? What's he plugging into? Is he using, what tool, proprietary tool does he have? And I think I even asked you, like, hey, what the heck, what are you doing
Right.
to give me an answer so quick? You're like, oh, I just run comps. Like, no, you can't run comps that fast. So I sat there next to you during lunch, and someone texted you an address, and I saw the king.
You peeped.
I saw
me.
the king at work.
It's funny.
Saw the king at work. Tell me, what do you do?
I use your best friend.
I know.
Zillow. It's simple, man. Like
Yeah.
it essentially gives you the exact same map formation that you get on Monsoon,
Yeah.
but it's in your pocket.
Right.
And that's awesome. So I can comp a house anywhere I am. The thing about comping is don't get overcomplicated. Don't cross major roads. Don't get out of your subdivision. Anytime somebody's trying to leave a subdivision, cross major roads in order to justify a value, it's BS.
Right.
The value's not there.
You're no longer buying it right.
No. So stay close.
Yeah.
Right. I think the reason I can give an answer is because I'm not gonna do gymnastics to make a deal work. Right. It has to work.
It works or it doesn't.
Yes.
And so just to be clear, Jamil preaches the Z estimate.
No, I say
I'm just kidding.
It's
I'm
a
just
good
kidding.
it's a good start. It's
So-
a good place to start. Obviously, it's wrong all the time.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's as terrible as people think it is.
Well, I'm just kidding, of course. So what Jamil does is he actually pulls up the map and then clicks on all the solds in the area.
Yeah.
And that's really all you need.
Yeah.
You don't need to make it that much more complicated,
No.
because the 70% of an approximate value, you can't really lose.
Right.
Right. So, but I got to witness, and I thought that was a really, really neat opportunity.
What's fun is I'm so unaware of what's going on around me that you were watching what I was doing on my phone, and I had no idea until now. That's embarrassing.
It was fun, though. Okay, so what is the greatest lesson that you've learned?
In, like, overall?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great lessons, and I don't want to give, the wrong impression or the wrong idea or sound like lofty here, but learning how to meditate.
Yeah?
Yeah, changed my life.
Really? Talk
sure.
about that.
I mean, I have come to be more still, level-headed, make better decisions. I'm happier. I can be more introspective. I know how to see my own BS.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
What's an example of seeing your own BS?
When you just when you're bullshitting yourself, and when you create a reason why you're right and someone else is wrong, right? And you're doing that to justify an action or a situation.
Yeah.
The hardest thing, I think, in terms of like just being a human being is like getting past yourself.
Right.
Right? Not taking yourself super seriously. Because it's not, I mean, we're literally a speck of dust on a speck of dust on a speck of dust.
Yeah.
Right? Like
right.
We're so insignificant. So if you look at it from that point of view, then why get so angry? Why get so serious about it? And why bullshit yourself? Like why waste time telling yourself you're righteous or you're right in a situation when if you flipped it and looked at your shortcoming or looked at what you've done wrong, you can learn.
Yeah.
Right? So I think the greatest lesson I learned was how to do that. I'm learning more and more about it every day. I do it longer and longer every day. I don't feel good when I don't. So if I've, had a bender of a weekend, like I have a hard time on Monday morning trying to sit and focus, right? But even then, it makes me not maybe want to have that bender on a weekend, right? Because I do want to wake up and make sure I have a good Monday.
Yeah.
So I think I'd say that's probably one of the best lessons, if not the best lesson I've ever learned.
Are there any lessons you're learning right now?
I mean, yeah, all the time. I think the one that's big for me right now that I've been noticing is saying yes more. And what I mean by that is, you ask me, do you want to do a podcast? Yeah. Yes. Someone says, do you want to meet for lunch? Yes. Can I pick your brain? Yes. I'm just saying yes and I'm seeing what happens.
Right.
Right.
Opening more doors, leading more opportunities.
Yeah, I think I spent a lot of time being more like, go, and they go.
Yeah.
People go away, and there's no way to live like that, right?
And then we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but how has failure shaped your life?
I mean, I think it's the only thing that has, right? You don't know that you've had success unless you failed, because you have no frame of reference.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, look at the British royals, right? They're born royalty. They don't know.
Super rich.
Yeah, super rich, completely every want taken care of. They don't have an understanding of what it's like to toil or suffer, right? But I can tell you, they don't even know what it feels like to be royal, because they don't know what it's like to be normal. Oh, yeah, that's right? Powerful. So if you don't have that frame of reference, you wake up and you're a prince, that's all you ever were. You weren't the frog that became a prince. You're just a prince. And then you can end up being ungrateful, or you could end up saying, my life sucks, or I don't like this. This is too much shit. I can't leave my house. It's hard. I can't get married to who I want. I got to do everything this way. Like, if you don't have a frame of reference, if you don't have failure, you have no idea what success is. Right. You need that adversity. You need that. It's the entire planet is contrasts, right? So without failure, there's no such thing as it. And that's something that I struggle with, and I don't know if we've talked about this, but like, how do we make sure that our kids aren't screwed up by like spoiling them and so on? So that's a great point. Is that adversity? Absolutely. Makes a big deal. And I think just making them understand, right? You got to be a dick to your kids every once in a while. Like you have to. Yeah. Right. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. Right. But you've got to kind of let them be out there and swim.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I have,
my kids are gonna kill me.
one thing I have some people in my ear talking about is I should, with what I'm doing right now, start a syndication.
Okay.
Where I, bring in a bunch of people, guarantee a rate of return on that money. What would you tell them?
That's the fastest way to go to prison.
What does that mean?
I mean, don't you watch American Greed?
I have watched American Greed. It's just a bunch
of people who started off with good intentions going to jail.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I think the day you take someone else's money, you really have to be careful with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if you don't know you're doing something wrong,
mm-hmm.
you could be doing something wrong. Yeah. And the second you do something wrong and you fail, they're going to put your ass in jail.
Right. What's the word I'm looking for? Ponzi.
Yeah.
Immediate Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, but I think they don't start, I don't think any Ponzi starts off a Ponzi.
Right.
Right? It starts off with a guy wanting to do well,
mm-hmm.
and then wanting to help people, and then they screw up, and then they can't face the screw up, so they have to
screw up more.
They have to screw up more, and then screw up more,
yeah.
and it just turns into a massive problem.
Right.
It's in my opinion, I think there's a lot of guys who do syndications well,
mm-hmm.
And I'm not gonna sit here and say that there's some form of fraud involved in any of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you peel back the veil, there's some questionable shit going on.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So the advice I have is just don't take people's money.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're going to do it, sign your name on it.
Right.
Right? Rather, the only guaranteed rate of return I want to pay is to the bank.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to have people knocking on my door saying, you promised me 10%.
Yeah.
It's well, what happens in a downturn?
Right? Well, you can't give them 10%.
You can't give them 10%. Then you have to have that conversation. And then guess what they say you are?
You're a crook and a fraud. And then
where do you end up?
You end up on American Greed.
Right.
What have you read that everybody should read?
The Autobiography of a Yogi.
What's that about?
Everything.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's a great book.
I'll write that down. Autobiography.
By Paramahansa Yogananda.
I'll get the spelling later. I'll just do a search for Autobiography of a Yogi.
Yeah, great book.
Okay. What did you learn from that?
Dude, there's so much. It's so much. It's a journey. It's a man's journey from just regular life to enlightenment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of humanity in it, but there's also a lot of spiritual keys, especially if you're if you're a Christian who goes to church often, and you're spiritual as well. I think you can mix those things together very easily. It's a non-denominational kind of thing. It's more of a let's get outside of ourselves by going inside.
Interesting. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
What have you done that everybody should do?
What have I done that everyone should do?
Mm-hmm.
Wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
I mean,
you want to elaborate on that?
I think, get up and just get at it. Just don't sit in there.
Yeah.
Don't sit in there and sleep,
Go in there and hustle.
Just get out there.
Again, going back to what I was talking about Gary Vee earlier, what he says, I don't care if you have crazy ambitions, but your actions have to match your ambitions.
Get up.
Yeah.
Just get up.
Very cool. Let's see, what else is there? Why do you think most people fail?
I think everyone fails. So I think that question should be reworded.
Okay.
Because everybody fails.
Mm-hmm.
There's just people who sit in failure, and then there's people who walk away from it.
Okay, so let me rephrase that. So why do you think people fail in wholesaling and flipping?
Okay, that's good and specific. I think people fail in wholesaling and flipping because they do one of two things. They bite off more than they can chew.
Mm-hmm.
They don't seek the correct help. Get help.
Right.
And be realistic about your abilities.
Yeah.
That's why I think you get failure.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And there's a lot of people here that actually do give back.
Sure.
There's a lot of great mentors around that are willing that are happy. And I think that's part of the getting successful. You can't be successful if you're not a giver.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think, yeah, definitely if they've got questions, there's a lot of people that are happy to answer those questions.
For sure.
And then is there anything that keeps you up at night?
The Fed.
What's the Fed doing that's keeping you up at night?
I mean, I'm just worried about interest rates. I don't know. No, I don't even think that keeps me up at night. The honest answer to that question is like my parents dying.
Yeah.
I'm like one of those guys.
Yeah.
I worry about them, right? You never know. So
you don't. It's true.
Yeah.
Max wants to know, do you drive the KeyGlee G ride around? I
have not. You know what? My partners don't let me drive it because they haven't added me to the insurance.
So who drives it?
Staff.
Staff?
It's staff car, yeah.
Okay. So we're wrapping this up now. So if someone's brand new and they want to send you a deal, what's the best way to do that?
You email me, Jamil, Jamil, at KeyGlee.com.
Okay. Easy enough. And this was awesome. Thank you very much for your time. There's a lot of wisdom.
Awesome.
Lots of great stuff here. And again, if you guys like this show, please just share this episode right now. And don't forget to join me next week, same day, same time. Got Brent Daniels, Talk to People, monster.
Yes.
And then also visit our website, realestatedisruptors.com, to find out about our upcoming events. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you, too.
All right.